Good afternoon and welcome to Understanding Law 2. So this is an alternative type of lecture, a virtual lecture, in which I'm going to try and give you some materials in 3 easy segments. This is the introduction, and then there's going to be 3 further segments on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Each segment about 10 minutes long, a bit longer if I have to record 2 YouTube clips, then we might do that, but not too long. And the idea is going to be that I'll use the clip to introduce you to the concept that we're looking at on that particular day, and then I'll provide some other written materials and other materials, links to other websites, etc., that you can use the time that you would have spent at the lecture to consider those. And because I'm breaking alternatives to justice, which means everything that isn't what we generally conceive of as being justice, then I think that this is a particularly appropriate way of doing it, that we'll break it down into parts and that you can follow it through from there at your own speed. So the first part is going to be examining Truth and Reconciliation Commissions. The most famous model of Truth and Reconciliation Commissions was that employed in South Africa at the end of the apartheid regime, looking at the crimes which were committed during the era of apartheid. And we're going to talk about how that model was put together, what Truth and Reconciliation Commissions try and achieve, what they're good for. We're going to look at some of their strengths and indeed some of their weaknesses, and then we can consider whether that actually provides justice or not, as we understand justice. And of course, the fact of the matter is that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was about truth and reconciliation, not necessarily about justice. So maybe we shouldn't hold it up to that standard. Maybe it's trying to achieve something else that's useful and valuable, but not necessarily what we have been thinking of, or what we might generally think of as justice. The second thing that we're going to come on to then on the Wednesday, again in the same format, brief clip with some other materials, is ideas which have been used in areas like Thames Valley, etc., which are restorative justice, where we engage with the victim and the offender and try and encourage the offender to see the effect of their crime upon the victim. Because all too often, offenders don't see that their crime has had an impact. And these types of schemes have been particularly successful, or at least arguably successful, we're going to discuss whether they were or not, in areas of youth crime. And we can try and employ alternatives to the courts and to the police as a means of intervening earlier in the process and trying to improve the model and trying to make the system work better so that the offender does not go on to reoffend. So we'll talk about that. And then on the Thursday, we'll talk a little bit about where the impetus for all of this is coming from. Is it some great new philosophical movement, which sees the old-fashioned court-based system as being unsuccessful and not achieving its goals, or are there other drives? Is it a cost-saving drive? Does it in fact cost more to run? Are we drawing on Aboriginal rights and various kind of tribal associations, etc., from countries like Canada and New Zealand and Australia, and is there a value behind that, or is this just another way of trying to achieve something and maybe an effective means of doing that? So we're going to talk about all of that and tie it together that way. And hopefully by the end of it you'll be able to see that the alternatives to justice offer alternatives that may be more effective in achieving some goals than the traditional court-based system is, and that therefore we should consider those, but rather than always jumping on the legal response and the legal option, the kind of the lawyers getting into court kind of approach. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope you like the different way in which it's delivered. I know that this is never going to be a replacement for lectures. I wouldn't want it to be, but what I'm trying to do is give an alternative to the lecture when we're talking about alternative justice, and I hope that you enjoy the ride. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.